Well, and I think
for the
it
economy.
segues into that House subcommittee hearing this past week with the technology giants,
Right.
right? Which was what it was: Amazon,
Yeah.
Facebook, um,
Yeah, and
Google, and
Bezos
Apple, right?
basically he admitted, was it Bezos that basically admitted like, yeah, we probably use the information we gather, in aggressively against our competitors.
Well, he said it's against our
Yeah,
policy, but I can't guarantee that it didn't happen.
right.
But of course, like the thing that's relevant, whether or not they actually did that, is that they have the power to do that, right? So like they're in a position to be
Right.
able to do that. So they have so much power that okay, they may say it's against our policy, but they have the power to be able to do that. So that's that. That's the issue. Other people
Yeah.
don't have that kind of power. So how can you compete with Amazon? Because if you go and if I'm a small vendor and I make my widgets and I'm going to sell them in Amazon, Amazon's going to take a big cut of whatever I sell, right?
Right.
Because they provide the platform, you know. And
Right.
then
If it turns out that it's something that's like profitable enough, and they're in analyzing your revenue stream, they'll start to create it themselves.
but like
And then,
what's the upshot
you
of this?
know,
Because this is supposed to be that antitrust, right? So in a earlier time, if you had like AT&T or you had um, what was the Standard Oil, you'd
mhm,
break them up, right, into smaller companies. So like Standard Oil, they broke up into these, like Esso and these different companies, Sunoco or whatever, and um, AT&T they broke up into the Baby Bells back in the like whenever that was in the 70s. So you had S&ET and you had these different smaller companies, right?
mhm.
But you can't really break up Amazon in the same way. Like you couldn't say like we're going to have an Amazon for west of the Rocky Mountains, right? It wouldn't make any sense, because it's a
And you
global
you
thing.
have the same yeah, you have the same problem trying to, like, I try and encourage people to use Parler or something instead of Twitter, but of course people's reaction is like, well, but everyone's on Twitter. And I'm
Right,
like, well, use both anyway. If you at least use both,
right. So they
then then enough people will gravitate to Parler that there's enough competition that you have some leverage against Twitter to say, no, you can't act that way against us. You can't
right,
shadow ban
right.
us.
So that's
Right.
obviously that's the path to try to compete with them, but it's a much higher um, uh, you know uh, grade to try to break into that than it would be like you can't just break them up either by geography or by function. So you couldn't say like, okay, only Amazon Books is going to sell books now, and they're going to be separate from Amazon, shoes, which is going to sell just shoes, and Amazon Electronics is going to be separate. Like it wouldn't work the same way. Um,
Yeah, they have to, but they have to find a way to do it, right? Or
well,
else it, yeah.
I think the obvious thing is like it's become like utility, right?
And I was thinking that is the way it's heading.
You know,
Yeah.
you know,
How else can you do it?
Now I
Right.
know that's
Yeah.
socialism, but if you have a
Right.
utility, it should be government run, right? Whether it's retirement, Social Security, basic retirement, or whether it's basic medical care, single payer, or whether it's your fire department or whatever, or public schools. It seems like okay, now we're getting into like products and services. Normally, that sounds pretty like the Soviet system, right, where you have
Right.
state-run enterprises and stuff, but in a way, it seems like why not have a government run like Amazon, and then have that wealth being poured back into the economy for the benefit of everyone, rather than what's the difference whether you do it that way or you have Jeff Bezos run it and you tax him at 92%.
Sure. And I would say that in doing that, first of all, I would say that like, that has happened in the past. I mean, people were probably shocked when private fire departments were, that you would pay in order, hey, if you want your house to be saved, if there's a fire, you have to pay a private fire department to come do it. And they wouldn't rescue your house if you didn't pay them, right?
Right, exactly.
That became, it became obvious to everyone, well, we need this to available for everyone to be paid through taxes. The internet is a standard enough thing now. Like you say, it essentially is a utility. Yes, everyone that owns stock in it should become fabulously wealthy. and it should be taken over as a utility.
Well, I mean, I don't think Jeff
And
Bezos should not be
Amazon, so yeah.
rewarded for his entrepreneurship. I mean,
Oh, he
obviously,
absolutely should.
but
Absolutely.
I
That's like
mean, like,
everybody that, and everyone that knew to invest in it also, they should be very, very well rewarded
but it used to be that
for
taxes would take
for
care
their
of evening
investments.
out the playing field, right? So you tax people at a high rate. Under
Yeah.
Eisenhower, the top rate was 92%. So people who made above a certain amount, that income above that level, whatever it was, $1 million or $10 million would be taxed
Oh,
at
yeah.
a very high rate. So
And
that
that absolutely should be happening now. Right. I mean, isn't the basic, theory of anti-monopolistic practices is that, no one, a private company can't get too big and then they become a powerful monster, right? Well, individuals are the same way. I mean, nobody should own more than $100 million or whatever. You can argue what it should be, but the tax rates should
But how's that going
essentially
to happen? Because first of all,
cause
like
that.
Amazon didn't pay any taxes, right, or paid nominal amount of taxes, so they can use their accountants and their lawyers and their Swiss bank accounts and everything to kind of hide profit. Or they can have the company located in a different country or whatever, their office, so they are not subject to paying U.S. taxes. So there's like ways to evade all that kind of responsibility. So what's the answer?
It's above my pay grade. I say send lawyers, guns, and money, and figure it out. Someone, yeah,
I
I
mean,
don't know. Yeah,